All right,
Yeah,
what's up? I'm here with your boy Shamal J. McCoy. What's good, brother?
I can't call it. How's everything? Appreciate you
Ah,
having
man.
me.
Yeah, we're good. We're good, man. This has definitely been a long time coming. And I mean, we talk all the time and we kind of chat it up, but this is type of content we got to get on tape, you
Yeah,
know?
that is
But,
true.
I mean, this probably end up being like Freestyle Friday and, we'll just talk about a slew of different things, but what's going on in your life?
Uh, I would say a lot. I mean, as of right now, I'm sure you're aware. I'm in between my transition between switching different companies.
Yeah, I could tell
So
with the beard, you're kind of homeless right now.
yeah, so I'm gonna leave. Let it grow out. I don't think I have any salt in here, so let me know. I'm still young. I'm still
That's
in the
why I got to
fight.
keep mine low. I got to keep that all this, man. Jeez.
Yeah, but over here just holding down the fight. Doing a part-time single dad thing. The wife over at the Sergeant Major's Academy holding it
Yeah,
down,
she's
doing
over
great,
there at the
wonderful
academy
things.
being great. Yeah.
Yeah, trust me,
Well,
she
she's
briefs me
probably going to be
every.
honor grad, right?
I think so. I think so. I mean, she's scoring
Yeah.
90s and above on her test. So I mean, she's keeping the McCoy name strong. So I appreciate
Yeah, she's doing better than I did. I think I left there with like an 88 average,
it.
which is like subpar at the academy. So, I mean,
Yeah, I think she got like an 87 on one thing, man. She was livid. but
that was a
uh,
good day for me.
but other than that, I mean, just holding it down, man. Trying to continue the balance between the work and the personal life. Make sure every side is well taken care of. So I mean, other than that, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the leave.
That's always a tough one, right? Like, I mean, you brought up something right off the head, like work life balance.
Yeah,
You said right now, like you're holding it down, while your wife's away at school. It's a year long process at the academy, and, you know, you're coming out of a first sergeant seat, but you were still an active first sergeant while, typically a geo bachelor dad. How'd that struggle go?
it was tough because you got to look at the priorities. What's needed the most on both sides. I mean, the unit's always going to want you and need you present at all times when it comes to training. And then you look at the family side of things. Both the kids, one's 17, one's 5. The 5-year-old needs 110% attention. So it's not fair to her in my mind. And the aspect is when we get home from work, when I pick her up, it's not fair to her to just attach her to a tablet while I try to cook dinner and things like that. So I try to keep engaged with her. And then the same thing with my oldest. She needs conversation. She needs time. I mean, thankfully she has a job as well, but at the same time, it's like understanding how her day went and making that time for her. And then trying to find time for yourself within all that is extremely difficult because about time I get an opportunity to decompress is what 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
and by then
I
it's time to go
mean,
to sleep.
yeah, you gotta, it's also, you gotta find things in common, with your kids too, right? Like,
Yep.
you're juggling work and you gotta find those things that are in common, with your folks at work. And then you're trying to bring that home and, kind of switch off, what you're doing at
Yep.
work, and then put the dad hat on and,
Yep.
hey, Tatiana, how was your day? What did we do? Show me
Yeah.
what you did. It's like that's a lot. And then you got, 17-year-old. Um,
Yeah.
I have a 17-year-old as well. So I know what trying to hell, I'm just trying to communicate like what's
Yeah.
Gen Z's language? I'm
Yeah.
like, I just found out what Riz was and
I still don't know what that
drip,
is.
right? Drip and all that. I'm like, what the hell? So, like you got to be super versatile, and you're doing it on your own right now, which, there's a lot of, single family households and things like that,
Yeah.
but yours is not,
Yeah.
but through the sacrifice of the service, that we do here in the military, like this is a voluntary separation, if you will, to better yourself professionally, but the sacrifice is like somebody has to pick up the slack, at
Yeah.
home. And And it's you. Usually in a typical household, it's usually the dad who's going away while the mom, picks it up. Because my wife she's not in the military, so I'm the one usually going away. But you guys are
Yeah.
dual military, which I mean that's super struggle.
Yeah, because I mean, and I'm always going to credit you for this when you and the first sergeant in Hawaii is letting me know that, hey man, it's your time to kind of step away from 71st. Because you know me, I was invested. I'm 110%. Invested into a unit organization wherever I go, and you know what I'm saying, like Mike Tyson said, all I saw was red. What I'm saying, I was just in go mode when it came to the operational piece and performance and making sure that the organization ran successfully. But if it wasn't for you taking me and moving me to the division piece and giving me a step, an opportunity to step back and kind of see where I needed to take a step back and take a break, decompress, and kind of see, not the errors of my ways, but how to function as a leader and as a husband, because I was neglecting family a bit when it came to my performance, because I was just invested so much. And then I was just appreciative of understanding where I needed to shift my priorities and to balance that work and family life. Because at one point I was just, it was cool to say, yeah, we got to balance family, but I wasn't actually doing it. And then, you know, understanding and seeing what I needed to do as a husband and as a father to make sure that my family didn't suffer or struggle. Because in the end, when his army career is said and done, who's going to be there with you in the end? So you got to make sure that you have that total concept and function properly and communicate, because the communication was the most important part.
Yeah, that's I mean, you can't see it when you're in the fire though, right? Like you don't really
Yeah,
understand, what's falling off and what's not. And I think that as leaders, right, we need to be able to understand who our people are,
yeah,
and what they're invested in, and recognize when change is happening in that individual, right, good or bad, right?
yeah,
But you need to be able to recognize, like, hey, no pun, but this guy's in too deep,
yeah.
right? Which was also a great movie, though, Tyrese.
Indeed, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, um, but when you're just in it and you're engulfed in it, like you ain't thinking about all that. And
No,
as a leader, like, yeah, you're looking out for your organization. You want to make sure you guys are functioning well, but the only way it functions well is if your people are functioning well. And
yeah,
we put mind, body, and soul in what it is that we do, and it shows. But at the same time, like you got to step back. You get because like you said, right? Like at the end of this thing, when we hang the suit up,
yeah,
all we got left is family, or we
hmm,
would hope,
yeah,
and you know it, it's really a tough one. I kind of talked about this topic before, like work life balance, and someone told me that it's not a work life balance, it's just life. It's like you got to
yeah,
figure it out. Which I was like, well, damn, that's a fact. Like,
yeah,
but is there really a balance there? Is there, none of us are wearing face paint like clowns, right? We ain't sitting here juggling and all that, because I'd be dropping the ball every time if that was the case,
yeah,
but I haven't been in your shoes ultimately. Actually with Lois's new job, she's gonna be going out of town a lot more, and I'm gonna have to hold
yeah,
down the household. I don't have little kids in the house anymore, so I don't really know what that struggle is, daycare, and being able to get
yeah.
there in time before they close and they start charging you by the minute, by the second, right?
Right, they look at you crazy in there.
And you got all this stuff. Yeah, um, that's always a tough one. That's a tough nut to crack, and a lot of people end up divorcing over it, and being resentful because and their kids resenting them because they're not spending the time. um, properly with their kids, or they're not showing up to events,
Yeah,
right? I think that's one of the things that we used to pride ourselves on a lot is, hey, your kid's doing a recital, go to the recital. A birth is happening, send them back from the deployment, things like that to
yeah,
show like family matters. And then, the Army went into the people first strategy, and that's what the effort was behind that is to bond families better. Now that we're not deploying rapidly and
yeah,
counterinsurgency fight and dwell time, is not really a thing. Like everybody's like been home for like years now. That was an adjustment too,
yeah,
right? We're used to being
yeah,
gone all the time. Now we're home. I remember Lois was like, "Don't you got anywhere you need to go? Like you're getting on my damn nerves. Like how are
yeah,
you not deploying somewhere? Like
yeah.
I have a
Somebody
system
needs
and
you
you're not
somewhere,
here. Yeah,
right?
I got a system. Like you're messing up my flow. And it's
Yeah,
weird because civilians don't have to deal with that.
no,
My brother, his wife is like, isn't it weird to you that you move all the time? Like you're always gone. I couldn't imagine being away from my kids for a day or two and you're gone for a year. You know,
yeah.
what was that like for you guys as dual military?
It's been tough, especially for Myra, because she's been the one in and out the door the most. I mean, I've been the stable one in the fight, thank God. So she went to Germany for 9 months, so that was definitely unique on the family.
Yeah.
So that put a lot of strain on everything, because I had to obviously embody a whole bunch of other roles that I wasn't necessarily used to because she held down that side of the house. But to be gone for 9 months, and just only be able to see her on FaceTime was tough, especially on Tatiana. And I know it was tough on Alexia as well because you're talking about 16, 17-year-old, that they need their mother, especially
Yeah.
in their life. You can talk on the phone, but it's different when they're not present. And, as a male, you can only provide so much as a father. And then she came back, and then not even a few months later, she out the door again, going to El Paso for the academy. So then again, you jump right back into that same role. I mean, thankfully, for myself and the kids, we were able to kind of pick up, I hate to say it, but a battle rhythm when it came to, what I'm saying, what our expectation was in the house. Alexia knew what she needed to do as far as responsibilities to kind of help this thing stay afloat, and, Tatiana just, she just flips and rolls wherever she fits. So, she made things, she
Yeah.
kept things exciting for sure. But
Yeah.
when you transition it to work, that was tough because me, man. I'm the first one in, almost like the last one out. That was my mindset. But when it's just you here and the kids, daycare is open at 05:30. So I'm dropping Tatiana off. She's the first kid in. What I'm saying, she's coming in with the workers. so,
Sitting
so
outside waiting on them to unlock the door, huh?
man, you don't even understand. They know us. So
Well, I
drop
know
her off.
you've always been a prompt person, so
Yeah, so I'm dropping her off at 5:30. I'm, thankfully the unit's right around the corner, so I get to the company about like 5 minutes later. And I'm the first one to unlock the door. I like to be the first one there to, what I'm saying, look through the sick calls if we got personnel going in, and then I had my Monday huddles. So I had my, NCO yards and everything else, as far as information wise, that I had set to push out to the team sergeants for that time frame. But once, what I'm saying, Myra had left, that made that a little difficult because I had to shift those huddle times to a different time because it was just too much trying to make it. Because sometimes trying to get Tatiana ready in the morning, trying to do her hair and things like that, what I'm saying, it don't work in my favor,
so you learned how
But
to do hair.
I'm decent. My ponytail game is like a 6.5. But
Oof. Yeah, you know
yeah,
what? I used to do that too. Like, and I don't know why, because Lois was there, but I used to try and get it done.
oh yeah,
Some daddy daughter time, and you
yeah,
know the parts be a little off, like
yeah.
some
You should have seen the
Punky
tubing.
Brewster type stuff. But and then she used to clown me because she said I used to paste her hair down, right?
Yeah,
But I thought like I'm just getting it tight, right? Trying to get
yeah. Nah,
and
so I messed it up myself.
see,
I,
trying to help out, and I'm over here, getting crucified,
I
talking
call myself being
trash.
fancy. I caught
Yeah.
myself being fancy one day. I said, you know what? Let me just go for this one little ponytail. Let me mix it up. Give her two. Yeah, I looked at Tatiana. I said, turn around, Boogie. She looked at me. Whole joint crooked. I was like, yeah, we're just gonna go back to this one.
Yeah.
But it made me feel bad, when some of the, I would drop Tatiana off, and some of the teachers would be like, "Oh, Daddy must have did your hair." I know what that really means. So,
We're gonna work on this while he's gone.
yeah, yeah. So I upgraded, started working on my little braids and everything like that. So with the assistance of Alexia, with the assistance of Myra, when she did come home, they did
Yeah.
do hairstyles that was able to sustain for weeks, so that it wasn't so hard in the morning. So that also helped me out a lot too. So I mean, everybody played their part to make this thing afloat, but it definitely put a strain because there's certain meetings that happen in the evening and night court and things like that at the battalion level, and I'm like, hey, look. Hey, I have a time hack, 1800. There's nothing worse than as a parent, you pick your child up and they're like the only kid
The
there, or
last one there. Yeah.
yeah, and like they're not in the classroom anymore. They're sitting at the front because these people got to go home. Some of these people have been there since 05:30. So
Yeah.
that's I definitely kind of put light on a lot of things on how I need to properly manage my time at work and at the house to be successful on both fronts.
Well, I mean that's actually a good point there. Like you of all people, I mean, yeah, granted, you're the first sergeant, right? So time management, things like that they got to be G to G. But
Yeah,
your duty scopes and responsibilities, like you got to be out of there before 1800.
yes,
That
sir.
doesn't mean everybody else, right? But like how do you continue your task when you got to leave? And I know it probably you're not that type of person where you're just going to pick up and just roll when things aren't finished. Like, how do you get through that?
So what I was doing was in the beginning I was bringing Tatiana back with me, but then I started to realize that I had to properly delegate, and I also had to have the trust and confidence in because I have senior leaders in my company. I have
Yeah,
way too many Sergeant First classes to where I have to be present all the time, and the lieutenants as well. So I had to be transparent. I had those conversations with them, with the commander as well. Like, hey, I'm not always going to be here. I will be here as much as I can. If I have to drop Tatiana off at the house and then come back, I will, if it's necessary. But I had to have the confidence in the senior leaders to be able to sustain the fight. In the beginning, it was a little difficult, because sometimes it wasn't, what I'm saying, meeting the mark on some of the things that I expected. But I also had to be rational with my expectations. When I went to counseling a few times, and that came up a lot. Just having reasonable expectations. And not set the bar too high to the point where people just can't meet those goals and standards that you set. So understanding the individuals and what they're capable of, and then ensuring that we had touch points. Not to the point where it felt like it was micromanagement, but more so to the point where I, you know, entrusted in them, and they were confident enough to brief me with what they did, so that the mission was successful.
so you said something earlier that kind of caught my attention, right? As the eldest child, Alexia, and you said that sometimes you would drop Tatiana off at home and come back. That
Yeah,
means ultimately Alexia is the one that's watching Tatiana while you're going all the way back
right.
to work to do whatever
Yeah,
needs to be done. You know, I was the eldest child as well, and I had
uh,
to watch my siblings at times, and I know how I felt about being put in that situation. Like they ain't my kids, right? And I'm
yeah,
trying to live my life. I got homework, I got friends, I
yeah.
got a life I'm trying to lead too. And now I'm taking on your responsibility because so how do you think, or maybe you guys have had that conversation, but how does Alexia feel about that, picking up that slack?
Um, I know at first it was a little taxing, but then also I had to understand that you have to let them know you're appreciative of their time and the sacrifices that they're making, because that's not easy for her. I understood that that wasn't her child, so I didn't try to put that strain on her too much. So we would talk about it. I'm like, "Yo, how does that feel? Are you good with this? You understand why I'm doing this?" So she knew, that communication. I'm big on communication. You know that, and,
Yeah, yeah.
and I had to make sure that. we were all on the same page, and I would make sure that I didn't overdo it. Um, Also, my neighbor, she was a big part of this as well. Like she would watch Tatiana because she has a son that she's adopted that are they're close in age, probably like a year or two apart. So her and Michael played around a lot, so she was able to help out. But Alexia definitely understood that we weren't in this alone, and we
Yeah,
needed
I
each
mean,
other.
they say it takes a village, right, to raise a kid, and
Yeah,
that's one of those instances where community comes together, family comes together, in a time of need, and you know, to be a successful professional, you
yeah,
got to have help. You can't do it by yourself, right? And like you said, you delegate at work,
yeah,
you delegate at home, and then there has to be some sort of expectation with delegation, right? So I'm sure you're developing those folks in a certain way to where, like, hey,
yeah,
if need be, you can take over and I can go handle other things, right? So,
yeah.
um, super important. But um, one thing that I know, and one person that when I was a first sergeant, right, and you were in that company, like what I grew to realize was you were going to do whatever it takes and make whatever sacrifice needed to get the job done, right? And it wasn't for any one person, it was for the organization and your subordinates and your subordinate leaders. Like there wasn't nothing that you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, like, that I really noticed about you. Like, you're going to do what it takes, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you out, right? Because the only thing at that time, in that period in time that was suffering was, you know, family time, because
Yeah.
you would just go that hard in the paint. So going from that to, now you're pretty much, Geo Bachelor and Mr. Mom, right? Doing those things and
Yeah.
running a company of your own, the challenges at home, you know, how do you do, how do you do that for your subordinates now? Like, what is your message to them?
The biggest thing I try to do is let them know I was relatable, and I was no different than them. Uh, because we all come from different walks of life, but at the same time, when it comes to this military thing, we kind of all resemble in some form or fashion when it comes to what home looks like or what what I'm saying, our responsibilities are. So like for the female soldiers or male soldiers that were single parents or married that would do military, I understood that, hey, let's be conscious of our planning. Y'all talk about 05 this and 0530 that, but there's soldiers that have daycare. Let's keep
Yeah,
that in mind. And then they're like, oh, I didn't understand that. I didn't think about that. It's just be conscious of that. Same thing when it came to sending soldiers TDY. You just can't just pick a soldier without having a conversation with them and seeing what their family life is like. But just understanding that I was relatable and that I understood where they were coming from, and that I understood that there's going to be times where you have to make sacrifices, but you know let's look at the LRTC and make sure we are planning appropriately. Let's make sure that these soldiers understand that predictability is very important. The last thing I would hate to see is someone just finding out tomorrow that they have staff duty when these documents and information has been out. So that's why I think again, the communication is so critical. Communication and comprehension, and making
yeah,
sure that they understand what is being told. So I think that's what kind of helped me out a lot with, I'm saying, conveying that message to the team,
yeah,
especially when it came to school too. You got KISD, which is the Killeen school system. You got the Belton school system. It's just understanding, like, hey, pay attention to what's going on with these schools because a lot of these soldiers are going to be impacted by this in a certain way. So let's make sure we're paying attention and talking to them and see how these things impact their kids. And then another thing, just because I know I had to step out a few times when Alexia had certain events, I wanted to be there. What are these events looking like for these kids? And what training events could potentially impact it? And can we afford for that soldier to go be there and be present? Because we can't turn back the hands of time and be present.
right.
So making sure that they understand that. One thing I ain't gonna say I stole it, but I got it from Sergeant Major Fritzinger when I went out to 20th with them. they were briefing that they do. I can't recall the name, but it was pretty much like where they were giving back to the families and the soldiers in the formation. So it was like once a month, they would allow the soldiers that had kids, pretty much like a late work call. They would allow those the family members to take their kids to school, have breakfast with them, whatever it is they wanted to do during that time frame, they could. And then, the other single soldiers would, have a late work call or, have team building, whatever was necessary to, saying keep everyone in the fight and help them understand that, family is important and that, you need the family to be strong in order for the army to continue to roll. Because if, the army, army family doesn't feel supported, then it's going to be tough for you to be supported during the fight. So we try to implement that within the company once a month, every Friday. Have a late work call, let those soldiers, take their kids to school and just, stay connected because that's important. Those kids are gonna remember that, because they go periods of time without, being with their dad or with their mom, having breakfast, just taking them to school, picking them up from school. That's important. So I mean, it felt good for me to do that for Tatiana. Like I'm gonna go have lunch with her here next week, just to sit down with her. I mean, yes, she is 5, but it kind of like bends at the heart a little bit when she's like, "Daddy, can you come have lunch with me?" Like, have lunch, but what I'm saying, you want to make sure that every dad thinks they're the best dad in the world. You want to be that. So when
Yeah.
your kid asks for something, you want to make sure that you're present. So. You know me, man. I get all like sensitive and tingling in the eyes when it comes to like talking about the family, man. So,
I wasn't going to bring it up, but yeah, I
yeah, I mean,
mean,
you know me, man, but I felt like that was a must. You know what I'm saying? I put so much on them, operational wise. I want to make sure that they understand that I want to have that same energy when it comes to the family. I don't know. Again, I don't know if everyone understood or picked up what I was putting down. Hopefully it did and it resonated. But I just tried. That's all you can do as a leader. Just try.
that's it. You know, look, listen, and you know, that's a way to change a culture too, right?
Yeah,
Because a lot of people, especially in our profession, they're not used to that. They're not used to having that type of support
yeah,
that understands families' needs. And
yeah,
a lot of people are unfortunately are embarrassed to ask and say, "Hey, can I go do this?" And they miss out needlessly, and
yeah,
leaders like you making those changes, whether you're stealing it or not, right? It's a great idea.
yeah,
Replicate that. Replicate. We don't replicate great ideas enough.
yeah,
We replicate toxicity,
yeah,
counterproductiveness, all this stupid stuff.
mhm,
Um, but the good stuff, there's so much goodness out there that, you know, those are the things that we should be replicating,
yeah,
but it's not a sexy topic, right? To share joy and togetherness and family and stuff
yeah.
like that. For some reason it's frowned upon um, to even bring it up. But I definitely applaud you for doing that, and Fritz, out there making those changes, throughout the organization to set the standard and say, hey, it's okay. Even if it's once a month, to look out for your people and
Yeah,
just take a morning, to relax and
yeah.
in that time, or take your kids to school, or take them to breakfast, then to school, or just sit down at the table and talk.
One
We
second,
don't get to
Tatiana.
do that. We don't get to do that enough. Lois used to make it a point all the time, like when we were all at the table or all in the house, that we all sat at the table and had dinner together as often
Yeah,
as possible, instead of like eating on the go or plopping in front of the TV and just, not really conversating, but it
yeah.
was an effort to bring us together and
Just kind of connect and reach.
yeah, just connect, and we need to do more of it, right? We
Yeah,
definitely got to do better at that. We can do that, with our buddies at work and things, because we have those things in common, and talk military and the
yeah,
mission and all this crap. When we get home, it's like we ain't got nothing to talk about. So that's
yeah. We
why
got
it's
something
like
to. Yeah,
it's like finding something that we have in common with our family, our kids. There's so many times that me and Lois would go out to dinner, and we're like, we don't want to talk about work this time.
Yeah.
We ain't got nothing to talk
I'm
about.
gonna talk about
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
well, you lead. It was your idea to not talk about
Yeah.
work. So what do you got? I ain't got nothing. So are we just gonna sit here awkwardly in silence, or you look nice tonight, but
Yeah. It's
it's
so
like
weird. It's a weird dinner now.
it's like you know
Yeah.
this,
Marvin did be that way.
but it's like right, like it's our life. We spend more time at work than we do at home, so that's what we
Yeah.
know. And as odd as that seems, and like me, right? Like besides doing the podcast stuff, like I don't do small talk. I don't do chit chat, and I'm reserved. I'm laid back. Like
Yeah.
I don't really talk a lot, you know. And being an introvert by nature, like it's just not in me to just spark up a conversation unless I know you, right? And then we have a
Yeah.
topic that we can conversate about, like how me and Phil used to whoop y'all in flag football and stuff like that.
Man, I was some cheaters, man.
Oh man, a dub, right?
Man, I used to plot on us. Y'all show up with cleats. Everybody else did. Hey,
Hey, you
hold on
got to
one
stay
second.
prepared. It's all. Hey, be
Hey,
ready.
can you pause it? Oh no, hold on.
Yeah.
So we got in the car, she's driving. She started talking about work. I said, "Hey, yo, this whole weekend we not doing it." That was a quiet ride. That was a
Yeah.
quiet ride.
You know, like it's tough. You just see. We've
There you
tried.
go.
We
Yeah,
definitely tried. And we kind of we came to the realization like she's gonna talk about what she does and I'm gonna talk about what I do, and we
yeah,
ain't got nothing else to talk about. You
yeah,
know, we definitely we do because the property we got now and all the ideas that she has and stuff like that. So there's definitely other
yeah,
things, but it's her talking about to me about what I need to do around here. You
yeah.
know, I don't necessarily want to hear that either because that's a lot of damn work.
Yeah,
So
well, give you some labor.
yeah. It's all manual labor stuff. Build this, do that. Um,
Yeah,
I enjoy it. It's therapeutic, but speaking of therapy, right? I heard you mention earlier you seek
yeah,
counseling.
yeah,
I ain't gonna get into what you talk about, but how is counseling viewed in your organization, and is it supported? Because I know a lot of times there's a stigma that goes with leaders going to counseling and maybe being medicated or maybe
yeah.
whatever, but how's that viewed where you're at?
Uh, I mean, I feel like now with this current, I would say the climate, I feel like behavioral health is a big thing. I feel like everyone, if not the entire formation, goes to behavioral health, which is I applaud it. I think some might be trying to get something out of it that might benefit them on the outside of the military and not using it for the actual good. But it's promoted in my formation. What I
Yeah,
try to do is let them know that it is a necessity. When I was coming up, I was always anti-counseling, especially growing up in the African American community. Especially in the early 2000s and things like that. The person that you confided in or seek counsel with was your pastor.
yeah,
And that was about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you talk to your family and things like that, but I mean, it might not get the best, guidance and information from them. But as I've grown and then being in the military and in the ranks, I also I frowned upon it because, sometimes I've seen or heard some of that information being used against a service member. But then I also understood that, it's okay to need help. It's okay to not always be strong because it's impossible, because as leaders, as men, as women in the service and in life, you take on so much, you embody so much, and sometimes you just don't know how to deal with the stressors. Um, and it's just a weight on your shoulders. And how do you manage it? You know, sometimes we're not taught the proper way to communicate. We're not taught the proper way to manage stress. So in my formation, I let them know that, hey, I'm your biggest advocate. You know, I go to counseling because sometimes senior leaders don't say that they go to counseling. So therefore, it's frowned upon, you know, when it comes to the subordinate soldiers and leaders. So I let them know, hey, as of right now, I am currently in behavioral health. The current counsel that I use right now is off post, but I let them know that you can use any avenue that you would like. I've used MFLAC before. One thing I like to do or like to be is you know what I'm saying, a person that have utilized these resources and be able to speak on them properly. So I can't advocate and tell a soldier to go use this and go talk to this person if I never did it myself.
Yeah.
Um, so that was my biggest thing, and help them understand that I have relationships with, you know, these different organizations, and they've helped me in some form of capacity. And I think it resonated with a lot, and especially my seniors, and they've gone to counseling. Even my commander, she wasn't seeking counseling at the time, and I told her, I was like, you need it. I was like, you might not be going through what I'm going through, but I don't know what else that you may be dealing with. But I can tell you this, that you need to go sit down and speak with a professional and kind of see their perspective of things and what you might be missing and gain a better understanding. And when she came back, she was very appreciative of what she had received. And she thanked me. And I told her, no, I thank you for trusting me to, you know what I'm saying, listen to the words that I was saying, take heed, because counseling is important, you know?
Yeah. No, I think as senior leaders, we definitely need to be a lot more transparent, you know.
Yeah,
But I was the same way, you know, and I always thought there was going to be a stigma, you know, attached to seeking help.
yeah,
And I went years, probably close to 10 years that I'm aware of, um, with things that I struggle with, and you know, certain things I still struggle with today. I mean, some of the things are different and this and that, but um, I am going to be transparent. I'm going to be open. I'm going to let people know, like, this is what I'm doing, you know. So, you know, unwrittenly or unsaid, untold, right? It's okay. Like,
yeah,
I'm doing it. It's
yeah,
okay. I still made it. I still have a clearance. I still, you know, all these
yeah,
things that people think I'm going to be labeled. They're going to take my clearance. You know, they're
yeah,
going to put me out. Whatever. That it's just a stigma. I've known people uh, that went out on the economy and was paying out of pocket $500-600 a month because they didn't want it anywhere on their records. You
yeah,
know, and it's crazy.
yeah,
But you know, it's a way. You know, I applaud you, right, for going to seek help, and understanding and recognizing that you got an issue and there's an issue going on, but like we have resources, you know, and the only person that can see it is the commander, right? And I think
yeah,
it's more educating, um, the understanding of, you know, who's actually seeing this, what it actually affects, and you know, I guess as long as you're not trying to harm yourself or others, like you're pretty much good to go,
yeah,
you know. And you need somebody objective that you could talk to, and
yeah,
just, you know, make sure that you're not too far in left or right field, and you know your sanity is all intact. But
yeah,
I definitely applaud you for that, and you know the how you're spreading, you know, the word throughout your organization, and letting your soldiers and leaders know, even your commander, like it's okay to seek help. And PTSD and stuff like, and behavioral health issues come in many different forms. Like it's not just a
yeah,
wartime thing. You know, I try to tell people, like, look, you can get PTSD from getting in a car crash, right? And then all of a sudden, like,
hmm,
you don't want to ride in a car anymore. You know, that's
yeah,
PTSD, right? Post traumatic stress. It's not post traumatic stress combat disorder, right? Like that's not the
yeah,
acronym. So it's that other thing of educating and you know, getting past that stigma, like, well, you never been deployed, so how do you got PTSD? Like that's
yeah.
probably some of the most idiotic stuff I've ever heard, right?
Very true.
There's veterans and then there's combat veterans. I hear people all the time, you ain't never deployed, you ain't no vet. I'm like, the hell are you
Yeah,
talking about? Like where does this
crazy
nonsense
stuff.
come from? So, you know, I think it's educating the force and being transparent as a senior leader, and and saying like, hey, these things are okay. Like it's not to say it's not a big deal, but like it's not as big a deal as you think.
Yeah.
Um, go out, seek help, and you know, take care of yourself. You know,
Yeah.
because you only get one life and one shot, and you know the things that you do affect obviously your family, it affects your personal. You know, and a lot of people are out there hurting, and
Yeah.
you know, we're trying to avoid, you know, people taking permanent solutions for temporary problems and
Yeah.
just keeping it bottled up. And you know, again, like I said, I applaud you for doing that and getting after it. But it's not an easy thing because obviously it takes time, and time is one thing. As a single dad, a first sergeant, right? Not single, but geo batch.
Yeah.
But you know that time is what you don't have, and time is what you never get back, and time is what we're always trying to make up for.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know, I guess the you know the work life balance thing, the juggling that we do, you know, it's manageable, but there's a lot of sacrifice, selfless sacrifice that's going into it.
Yeah.
Um, how do you, you know, I know you're talking to people and doing this, and I know you work out like a savage. Um,
I try.
you know, but what are other ways that you know you kind of get your zen back? Like, what do you do for you? What does you know Shamal do for Shamal?
Man, that's a good question. I
I've never known you to never have an answer. You just got. I
mean,
just
honestly, that's a
stumped.
good
I
question,
just
but
stumped.
honestly, what I like to do is just walk around like Walmart and HEB, man. I like to shop, I like to shop and cook. So I mean,
Turn into a shopaholic.
that's my, not really. I mean, I like to sniff candles. You know, Yankee candles is my thing. Hold on one second. Yes, Tatiana.
What's your favorite scent?
Pink
What are you
Sands.
into? Huh?
Yes, you will, Tatiana. One second, okay? One second. Go get your hoodie and put on. Yeah, Pink Sands is my
Pink.
that's the smell. Yes, yes. Tell Alexa to grab it. Oh my goodness, man. That Yankee candle do it for me, man. Uh, that thing put me at ease. I got a gang of those. I keep them on deck.
Oh
I got
God.
like a little cabinet full of candles. But yeah, I like to cook. I like to cook, and
Yeah.
I'm transitioning into to baking. So I mean, these cookies that I've been making, these chocolate chip, boy, they hitting. But
Now,
walking
I
around,
need that. I need that mac and cheese recipe though.
I got you. I
That's
got you.
got us out in these streets fiending. I tried to replicate that thing. I got clowned. I got laughed at. My stuff was dry.
Man,
You
it
know.
took me some time to master. Definitely messed it up a few times, but yeah, I like to cook, man. That's kind of like my favorite pastime to help me kind of decompress with a lot of things.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time in the kitchen, whether it's meal prepping, whether it's cooking dinner, whether it's baking, whether I have Tatiana help me cook. Tatiana, you're gonna go. One second. No, oh, you can't go. Tatiana,
Yeah.
can't. Let me finish this first,
I'm
okay?
a culinary specialist myself. You know, I used to call it the ghetto gourmet. You know, yeah. But you know, I used to make all kinds of different ramen noodles back in the day when I was
Oh
younger. You
man,
know, put a little pot pie in it, put some
blood pressure
cheese
high.
on it, church it up with some veggies, maybe some broccoli. I've even put shrimp in it, right?
Yeah, I can't do that.
But that morphed into other things, and I think for me, cooking is therapeutic. But I think I get the enjoyment out of watching people's satisfaction
Yeah,
of what they eat. Now,
yeah.
I usually have thick skin, but when it comes to me chefing and somebody telling me my stuff ain't right, like I get pretty irritated and agitated
Yeah, I
because I
agree.
just put all
Yeah,
this effort in and I know it's good. You know, it might not
yeah.
be to their likings and
Hmm.
whatever, but I know it's good. But
Yeah.
so
Once they
yeah,
start critiquing you, it hits you in the ribs a little
yeah,
bit. Start telling,
man,
you, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I would have added a little bit more of this. I'm like, oh, okay, all
yep.
right.
Like, I gotta check my temp, man, because you know I'm out here putting it down. But yeah, no, that's good. You know, I find joy in that too. You still playing sports? You still hooping or what?
I shoot around. I haven't ran in a minute, but the jump shot's still water. There's no doubt about that. I get text messages all the time about people trying to challenge me. You remember Osara Griffin? Oh,
Oh
Patrick.
man, you know,
Yeah,
old
he's
Griff.
still talking. He's still talking crazy in my texts, and Lieutenant Biggers as well,
Oh,
aka Song First Class Biggers. But
I do got
he's
video clips.
yeah, it looks like he
Just
recorded
saying.
that on the flip phone, so it's not. You can't even make out the figures, so I'm good.
Yeah,
But
the
nah, I
lighting was
still
off, but
yeah, I
I
definitely
was
still
there.
got it. Not
Yeah,
true.
I was there. But
So
yeah, man, I mean, you got to have your vices like me. I never thought I'd ever say this, but being on my tractor, being out there on the acres,
yeah,
cutting
that sounds
grass.
crazy.
I got my bows like your headphones. I got the same bows, right?
Yeah,
The noise canceling. I put my music on, and I'm
you got
just
peace.
who knew grass cutting was like so therapeutic and so peaceful. You know, I grew up hating cutting grass, and I know you're allergic, but uh, that's probably not fun for you to be out
Nah,
there.
I be having a COVID mask on, hoodie. I don't like that stuff touching my skin. Yeah, nah, it's not my
But the
thing.
lengths that we'd go for love,
Yeah.
we cut grass this high.
Oh yeah. I still gotta send you the footage. Man, that grass was knee high. Out of the love for Myra. I told her, I said, I don't cut no grass. So that grass I cut didn't have none of those cool, smooth lines. It was just zigzags. It was get what I can get.
Oh God, that's
So
funny.
my lawn care maintenance game has improved though.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, we got to have our vices. We got to, we got to do those things for the ones that we love, and
Uh,
you know, it's all part of the balance, right?
yeah,
Like, you work hard, you got to play hard too, and if you're not playing with the fam, man, like you're wasting your time because
yeah,
at the end of it all, they're the ones that's still there standing with you, standing strong, and everything that you've done,
yeah,
you know, wasn't in vain. Because I've known a lot of people throughout my days, and some, were my mentors that, they did all these things and they made all this sacrifice to do well in their career,
yeah,
and their family life was just not winning,
yeah,
and I was a product of that too. Like Lois left me like 3 times, for various different reasons, but it's because I wasn't taking care of home.
yeah,
I was great out in the job and leading soldiers and all this, and when I come home, I'm not that guy,
yeah,
and it's tough for me because I'm an introvert by nature, right? So I don't want to be out front. I don't want to lead. I don't want to do those things, but I do it because that's what's required. It's
yeah,
almost like it's scripted. I know what
yeah,
to expect,
yeah,
right? So I know how to do it, and I know how to do it well because this is how I was trained to do it. I wasn't
yeah,
trained, to take care of the house and do all
yeah,
these husbandly things. I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up with uh, uh, those values, right?
yeah,
Um, So I had to learn them, and I'm still learning them, and I
yeah,
struggled, and I didn't get it because I thought my success at work was success at home,
yeah,
and so I found out that wasn't the case. So understanding that balance, the things that we have to do, the things that we're not comfortable with doing in order to grow, right? And
yeah,
you know, when we're in the gym, we don't mind tearing the muscles down because we know at the end of the day, like we're gonna bring sexy back, right? And uh, we're gonna grow, you know, because that's expected. We know that's gonna happen because that's how we train.
yeah,
It's muscle memory. It's this, but we don't apply that to home,
yeah,
and so many people when they hang the damn uniform up, the family's not there anymore because they never grew in that department.
yeah,
And that's why the subject's so important, man. That's why I like to talk about it all the time. And who better to talk to with than you? Who's going
appreciate it.
really going through it, right? And
Yeah,
communicating from long distance, and you're in the fight still. You're not like me where you're just sitting on staff and you ain't really got a whole lot of responsibility, day-to-day responsibility. All my stuff is futuristic. So
yeah,
I can make my schedule. Your schedule, you're down and in still, you
yeah,
know, and doing that grind. And serving two different entities that equally matter.
Yeah.
Probably would say home probably matters more, but you can't fail here in
Yeah.
the job and you can't fail at home, and that's why we're talking about the balance piece. So, like, yeah, this is just life, but to me, there still has to be some sort of balance because if one way outweighs the other, something's got to give, right? Something's falling
Yeah.
off because it's not balancing right, and a lot of times it's your own sanity.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's sacrificing. Like you're trying to make all ends meet. You're trying to make everybody happy, but
Yeah.
at the end of it, like you're the one that's not happy, right? You're the one that's suffering. You're the one, and we're suffering in silence too, because it's like, hey, what's
Yeah.
wrong? Nothing. I'm good. Because you don't even want to deal with it, right? It's like I got enough
Yeah.
shit stuff to deal with, and it's tough. That's why I think this is so important, and kind of what our conversation ended up morphing into is, for you, what do you think you're sacrificing? What is your sacrifice to making the thing balance? Because we all do. What do you think that is?
Uh,
Don't tell me I
uh,
said it twice.
yeah, I think you did. This is like a first. It might be. I don't know. I think I'll say my time. Because time is of the essence. Time you can't get back. So you kind of, again, you have to balance it and kind of figure out, what I'm saying, how you want to distribute that time. So like the thing we do for the family, or what I try to do or implement was, you hit it when it comes to always eating dinner with the family. But Fridays is myself and Tatiana and Alexia's time to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. Like every Friday, we go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and the goal is to go through every dish or meal on the menu, but
So
we
you
just keep it
you
fresh.
telling me you got the mango habanero heat?
I ain't making that far.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, I stopped at Caribbean,
Well, there's more
but
Fridays coming.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, we try to dabble in all those dishes, man. So we try to, what I'm saying, make that time for that. But then also the time at work is making sure that I invest the proper amount of time for the development, because there's a lot of NCOs and officers that need, a senior leader's time and development, and just that knowledge that they have. I would say for myself, I like to sit down, and I don't like to have quick conversations. It's kind of hard to have quick conversations depending on the topic. But after 1700, after I'm, tired from sitting in multiple meetings, I still make that time to sit down and have that conversation, because again, I came from a cloth where it doesn't matter who comes to your door, if they need something and they want to talk to you, you stop what you're doing and you make that time for them. So I've always, tried to balance myself and spread myself to the point where everyone got, the necessary time that they needed with me, especially with the wife as well. The same way I have energy to get up at 4 in the morning, well, I used to, and go to the gym, I got to make sure I have that same energy in my marriage, the same energy at home, the same energy at work, the same energy with the kids, because it's not fair to be, 110% all in, and then, the kids, Tatiana want to play or Alexia want to do something. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Nah, you wasn't tired. If somebody said, hey, let's go play ball, I go grab the spandex, grab the two socks, and I'm gone. So I got to make sure I got the same. I got to keep that same energy and make sure that, I know I'm going to reap these benefits here in a couple years. I want to see the fruit of my labor in a few years, and I want to be able to, I might not hear the conversation, but I want to at least be able to know that when Alexia and Tatiana talk about the time that they spent with their father, they recognize that, I went hard in the yard for the job, but when it was time for their events, or when it was time for conversation, when it was time for something else, that I was there, and this is the only, I ain't gonna say this is the only place, but I will say this. This is the first time I've ever been mentally exhausted. I think I was tired in Hawaii, but I think I was just too silly enough not to recognize it. But here in Fort Cavazos, this is when I've really recognized it being exhausted, to the point where I just sit down on the couch. There's times where I just sat down. I didn't want to watch TV. I didn't feel like cooking. it was just I was aggravated by a lot of things, and that's the main reason why I had to go to counseling because
Yeah.
I can't be that way. You know, I was just getting frustrated with the small things, and that can lead into other things which I already knew that I didn't want to have happen. But all in all, that's how I kind of balance my time. I think that's the biggest sacrifice is the time. Just trying to make sure everyone gets the necessary requirement, but then also make sure you take care of you. So there's days where I go get my nails done, get my feet done. I need to get a massage. I need to get a facial. Or just have a me day and just take care of myself and just, especially when Myra comes home, there's times where she's just like, hey, just let me know what day you want for yourself so you can just go take care of you because, you just have to decompress. You can only consume so much of something for so long before, you just need to take a break from it. So that's my TV timeout. I get my, 3, 4 hours and then I come back and I'm back in the fight, back in the game.
I never took you for a mani petty guy, but I
Oh
could
man, you
see
gotta
it.
see this dead skin.
I could see it. I could see it. But yeah, man, it's facts. So time is definitely the most precious and uh, uh, aspect of life that we have. Because we only get one shot, man. And
Yeah,
I definitely think that you're right on that. And I would say, arguably, the same thing, or agreeably, really,
yeah,
the same. Because I don't have enough time, 24 hours in a day. Obviously, if we can multiply ourselves and get out there, but that's what development's about and this and that, and that's how you are able to do the things that you need to do because you are developing, subordinates, and they're able to, you're able to delegate and you are able to get some of that time back. But the
yeah,
energy you have to put in up front in the organization in order to get that time back later is where a lot of people um, they kind of shortchange it. They're putting band-aids on things, and they're not necessarily, they're trying to just put it all on their shoulders, and you see it. It's like
yeah,
I don't have enough time. I can't do this. I can't do that. My family hates me. This and that. It's because they're not taking the time up
yeah,
front to develop others, to delegate tasks, so they don't have to be the single point of failure. So they can go and make sure that their daughter's dropped off at the proper time, picked up at the proper time. We're able to have meals together. We're able to
yeah,
spend quality time and go to recitals and games and different things like that and just be present, because that time is precious.
yeah.
And, but yeah, I definitely appreciate your time. And I know you don't have a lot of time. We've been on here almost an hour now. So I think that's enough time. And I think that's a great way to kind of segue out and say thanks for jumping on. You know, I know we're going to do more in the future. I don't want to be as dark, in the future ones that we do, because we can keep it pretty lighthearted. I
Yeah,
know through our conversations, but I appreciate your time and coming and sharing and being transparent with us here today. And you're always welcome back, to join us here and share more. We always love to hear from you. But with that, hey, good people, you're on the mic with me, JD.
peace.